Now let's talk for a second about what the individual components actually do. I told you that Generate is a non-copper algicide, and it's really a once-in-a-lifetime treatment. The aqua salt, or the salt that you're putting in, what that is doing is not preparing for chlorine generation as in a typical salt system. This salt is going in, number one, to raise the TDS level. That's the total dissolved solids in the water. By raising the TDS level, the ionized copper can move through the water a little easier. Now, after the TDS level has come up, you'll never ever add salt again. This is not something that you're going to add every year or ever again. You never test for it. The second thing that the salt does is actually softens the water. Salt water is a water softener, and so your water feels a little better. But this is a once-in-a-lifetime treatment also. So once it's been added, you'll never use that again. The Preparate, on the other hand, is a once-a-year treatment. Preparate has lots and lots of things in it. First of all, it has sodium tetraborate. The borates are carbon dioxide removers. Now, I don't know if you remember from your high school chemistry, but all plants, algae included, takes carbon dioxide, performs photosynthesis, and the byproduct is oxygen. Well, sodium tetraborate removes carbon dioxide from the water. Well, by removing the carbon dioxide from the water, it eliminates the way that algae would breathe. So it kind of suffocates the algae, makes sure that algae never grows. So sodium tetraborate, number one, is a great algicide because it keeps the algae from breathing. Second thing that's in here is mineral removers. Keep in mind, this is a preparate. This is a preparing treatment. So there is going to be minerals in your water when you first fill it that you want to have removed so that they don't interfere with the copper. The third chemical in the preparate is cyanuric acid. Now, if you remember from basic pool school, we talk about cyanuric acid and that it helps to keep chlorine in the water or prevents it from breaking down due to sunlight. All of that's in the preparate. So what that's going to do is it's going to prepare the water by putting an algicide, sodium tetraborate, cyanuric acid, and mineral movers. That is a once-a-year treatment. Next year, when you fill your pool back up, after you've drained it in the winter and you fill it back up, you will need to retreat the pool. Now let's talk about the real guts of the system. This is the Permasalt system. And what it is doing is it's taking copper bars and ionizing that copper. Ionized copper is much, much faster and more effective than all the other copper treatments that are out there. You know, in basic pool school, we talked about copper algicide. There's a lot of other copper-based water chemicals out there, without naming any names, that are encapsulated copper. Well, that encapsulation slows them down and limits their effectiveness. This is ionized copper. It's very, very powerful, very, very effective. You know, one of the things I'm sure everybody always heard, throw coins in fountains and in wells. Well, that process was started back in the days of the Egyptians and the Romans, and they would use copper coins. They would throw them into the wells because that copper, as it disintegrated, purified the water. It sterilized the water. Both copper and silver have those properties. So it protected the water. It protected the well. This is taking that same type of idea and controlling it by putting an electric charge to it. So the more electricity to the copper, the faster it's going to dissipate into the water. The less, and that's what we're controlling with the dial, the lower the copper level, so that you can absolutely maintain an ideal copper level. Again, you never want to have your copper too high. As I said in basic pool school, too much chlorine is okay, too much copper isn't. And that's really the system. You prepare the water with the preparate. Now you're controlling ionized copper at the controller unit. Now let's talk about the other two chemicals. First of all, let's talk about Activate. Activate is the most powerful shock and probably the best shock on the market today, and it's exclusive to the Permasalt system. The two most popular shocks, and we talked about this in basic pool school, are sodium dichlor and potassium monopersulfate. Well, DuPont calls potassium monopersulfate oxone. That's its brand name for potassium monopersulfate. Well, this is a dichlor with oxone blend. It's a blended shock. So it has all the advantages of dichlor and all the advantages of potassium monopersulfate. The advantage to potassium monopersulfate is a very, very strong oxidizing agent with no chlorine. The disadvantage to potassium monopersulfate is it has no chlorine. This blend adds sodium dichlor. It adds chlorine as an additional sterilizing agent to work in addition to the copper and in addition to the sodium tetraborate. Very, very strong shock and very, very effective. Generally, you only need it every 2 weeks. Larger size pools, you may want to add it one more time just to be sure. Clarate is a natural enzyme. Now, what natural enzymes do is they actually eat oils. We talked about natural chemistry has a natural enzyme. This is a natural enzyme. It's actually considered to be more powerful, very, very effective, and it eats the oils on the surface of the pool. So again, this clarifier is only used every 2 weeks. It's a natural clarifier. So the combination of all of these things is basically that you're not dependent on any one system. This is not entirely a copper-based system because you're still adding copper or chlorine. You're not entirely a chlorine-based system because you're using copper, using sodium tetraborate. You're also using natural minerals, potassium monopersulfate. It is a holistic approach to water chemistry, and it's the synergy of all of these products that makes it so simple and easy. And that's really what it comes down to. It's simple and easy. And, you know, my definition of what's important, it's simple, easy, and it's inexpensive. This chamber, the actual chamber itself, lasts about 1 season. Generally 1 season on a normal size pool. Larger pools, it could be a little less. It depends on where you live. Our stores in Minnesota, it can last 2 seasons. Stores in San Antonio, 1 year is about all that they get. But it's good for 1 year. So what are you buying? Once a year, buying a replacement chamber, just this section right here. Once a year, a bottle of Preparate, 8 bottles of Clarate, and 8 bags of Activate. This should never cost more than $450 for a whole summer. And you're only touching your pool every 2 weeks. Meets all of my definitions of simple, easy, and inexpensive.